And for more on the verdict and Gisèle Pelicot's impact, we welcome Rachel-Flore Pardo to the program. She is an attorney, expert in sexual cybercrimes, and co-founded the NGO Stop Fisha, which was created to fight against sexual cybercrimes. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I'd like to start just by getting your reaction to the verdict and the sentences.
Actually, I think the verdict is important because all the 51 men here that were accused of rape were recognized as guilty, right? So this is of big importance because it also proved, and I heard that there was a lot of debate as to whether the French definition of rape was sufficient. And as they were all acknowledged guilty, I think it is a proof that the French definition of rape is indeed working. Then I just want to say something. I think we have here a trial that is historical. It will mark the history of the feminist battle here in France and abroad, as we have seen the very big interest of the press worldwide for Gisèle Pelicot and for the Mazan's trial. And I think what makes this trial so extraordinary is it's that it allowed us to see how rape is common, the normality, the banality of those who commit rape, those who are accused of rape, and of rape itself, as it was basically in the place where she was falling asleep every night in her own home with her husband, that this all took place. And this is of very big importance in order to deconstruct all the stereotypes that were till this day attached to rape and those accused of rape.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned French law around rape and sexual assault. But there are people who say, though, that 20 years, this was the maximum sentence that Dominique Pelicot could have received. That still seems low to many people. And there has been a push to change the law, to add elements such as consent to the law.
Whether or not we add consent will change nothing to the maximum sentence, that is 20 years. 20 years is a big sentence. And also, I think when people say that it's not enough, that indeed, if Dominique Pelicot was younger, he maybe will have at some point be free again. And I think this also has to lead us to collectively reflect and think about how we prevent the persons who are convicted of rape to commit these crimes again once they are free from jail. And this is of huge importance because if we really want to fight against sexual violence, this is a topic that we must address. How do we bring back these persons to being, responsible human beings that respect other people's consent or not consent, right?
Mm-hmm. Or who don't have to be locked up for the rest of their lives to not repeat the same crimes.
If we do our job with giving us the means of preventing the fact that they might commit these crimes again, then I think it should be fine that after a long sentence that matches the gravity of the crime, then these persons may have an opportunity to go back to a more normal life. But this has to imply some means to allow us to prevent the commission that they rape again, basically.
Mm-hmm. Most rape victims whose cases go to trial, they do choose to stay anonymous, and there are many good reasons that they choose to do this. But Gisèle Pelicot said that she wanted to go public. She wanted to put the most horrifying evidence out for everyone to see so that the French public would be forced to reckon with the realities of rape. Do you think that because of her bravery, because of her decision, more women will choose to be public when it comes to their sexual assaults?
I think there could be a Gisèle Pelicot's effect because by her attitude, by her decisions to make this trial public, Gisèle Pelicot sent this message in France and abroad that a victim of rape has nothing to be ashamed of, and that the ones who should be ashamed are the ones who rape her. And this is of huge importance because shame has a lot to do with silencing victims. And when a person does not feel that she has the possibility to speak up, if also it's because of shame, then the offenses she suffered are not reported to the police. And then there is no justice. So maybe thanks to Gisèle Pelicot, other people will find in her courage the inspirations to go and report to the police and to the justice. And this will really help us collectively fight impunity in rape cases.
Mm-hmm. Now, every day of this trial, there were people showing up at the courthouse to support Gisèle Pelicot, to applaud her as she came in and out of the courtroom. I want to play just some reactions real quick from people who were outside the court today when the verdict arrived.
We're outraged to see that the lowest sentence is 3 years, i.e. 2 years suspended. It makes a mockery of everyone, a mockery of us, and a mockery of sexist and sexual violence. I don't even have the words. We're completely disillusioned, completely outraged, because, once again, it's a lack of respect and it's disgusting.
I sincerely feel sorry for Gisèle Pelicot, who fought so hard to make this trial historic. But in reality, the sentences will not be historic.
So a lot of disappointment expressed by people outside of the courtroom there. But I want to ask you about what the parallels and differences are with the Pelicot trial and the Me Too movement. France had its own version of the Me Too movement, Balance ton pot, but it does seem like this trial has had an impact in a way that the Me Too movement hasn't in France. And I'm wondering what your thoughts on why that is.
I think the specificity of this trial it's what makes it so extraordinary. It's the number of persons that were here accused of rape. We are speaking about 51 men. You will notice that it's only men, right? And it's 51 men that surprised everyone because they are so normal. It's this neighbor, this brother, this cousin, this guy we work with. And it basically showed society that it could be basically anyone. And that it could happen in homes with husbands as well. And this led everyone to think, oh, wow, if there are so many 51 persons in that room, how many persons around me maybe have committed rape? And this really created a huge wave of shock, I guess, in France, but not only in France and also abroad. And I think the difference with the Me Too movement is that during the Me Too movement, we spoke mostly about famous people. And what is so special with these cases, when we see the huge media coverage it got, is that Gisèle Pelicot and Dominique Pelicot, they are both anonymous at the beginning of the trial. When it begins, no one knows who they are. And still, because what we are speaking about is so shocking, it's so stupefying, that the fact that it's with so many men during such a long period of time, 10 years, it made everyone interested in it. And if also people got interested in this, it's thanks to Gisèle Pelicot. It's because she decided to address society. When in the first days of the trial, she decided to go in front of the cameras and say, hey, I'm going to speak to all the victims of sexist and sexual violence and tell them that they are not alone and they have nothing to be ashamed of. This is extremely powerful. And in this, she is helping others speaking up. And I hope that she's helping people that maybe are currently suffering sexual violence to make this stop and ask for help. And I just want to say here, thank you. Thank you, Gisèle.
In her final statement in court, Pelicot said that, when these crimes were first made public, her children, her grandchildren were ashamed of their name because of the crimes that were attached to it. But now, because of her bravery and what she has done, her grandchildren now say that they are proud to have
That's
her
amazing.
name. And she has said continuously that she has come forward because of her grandchildren, because they are the future. I'm just interested what you think the impact of this case will be on young people.
Yeah, well, young people, we hope that the younger generation is less sexist than the older one. But when we see statistics, it shows that basically we still have a very big sexism atmosphere and sexist view, and patriarchy is still very present within the younger generations. And this is of much worry, because we also spoke a lot during this case of the impact of some types of pornography and some kind of very violent and maybe forbidden pornography that are still accessible very easily to everybody online, including to people that are below the age of 18. And I do think that this problematic type of pornography has a lot to do with spreading the culture of rape. And we really have for younger generations to, now that society as a whole has been more is now more aware of how important it is to fight against sexual violence, we have also to tell these people that part of the solution is in education. And we have had this debate recently in France related to education to healthy and respectful sex life and also and relationships. And I think this should really be a priority. Actually, if we really want to efficiently fight against sexist and sexual violence, we have to promote a more equal society. And this has to go through education.